Hey folks, we were tagged by Rob at Essayons Family Gardens to answer a question about are we sowers or harvesters? And I think there's a little bit of background about my background and Irene's background that's worth talking about. Irene is very much a write it down, have all the numbers down, have the plans down, have everything with a clean slate. And I'm very much from the school of building in old buildings. So nothing's ever level, nothing's ever plumb, nothing's ever square. So it's always been a matter of adapt to the specific situation. Now when it comes to our homestead and our gardening,
we have a truce.
Well, sometimes it's an uneasy truce, but we have a truce nonetheless. Really the point is that I can do all the gardening, I can do all the planning. Irene can do all the research, she can do all the planning. But there's only two of us and we have a lot of stuff to do here, so...
I really enjoy planning. You know, I'm the person who gets excited when the first seed catalog comes in. And what I usually do is I have a big stack of seed catalogs, I have my favorites, I start going through them. I'm the kind of person who watches TV with one eye and reads the seed catalog with the other one. And then once I've got a potential list, I run it past Henry and have him go through the seed catalogs and say, okay, is there anything else you really want to try? And then we talk about it.
Sometimes we agree.
Most of the time we agree. Because I do grow a bunch of stuff that I don't like to eat. And I have no problem doing that. I just want him to have the kinds that he wants to have. But he likes certain things I really don't like. And I'll be glad to grow them, cook them, the whole thing. Just don't make me eat them.
Yeah, well, I like pickles. I like pickled things.
I make lots of pickles.
And so she makes that.
I don't eat them though. I do like sauerkraut though.
I like cucumbers.
They're just an okay flavor. So, but I grow tons of cucumbers. I make pickles, and I make the fresh Japanese cucumber salads and all that sort of stuff. It's a treat. He enjoys it.
I also like beets, and Irene's been planting beets this year in a tote. Now the beets were first eaten by a miscreant,
right?
Probably a rabbit.
Yeah.
Maybe this fall I'll hunt some rabbit.
Really?
I haven't had rabbit in a long time, but Irene's replanted the beets. They're coming up great. That's fabulous. I'm looking forward to eating some beet greens, and these are special yellow or golden beets that I really like. So we'll see which of these two particular varieties I like best.
That's right. I actually had golden beets at our daughter's a couple of years ago, and I can tolerate them, especially if they're roasted. So I figure I'll eat them once in a while, but mostly they're for Henry.
So we both like to plan, we both like to garden, we both will weed. I have a few eyesight issues that get in the way of things sometimes now, courtesy of a car accident.
Right.
But I can harvest. Now, when I'm harvesting green beans, it's sometimes a little problematic for me because I don't necessarily see all the green beans, even if I move the plants around.
Right, but he can do at least the rough harvest, and then I'll come back and pick up the ones that he missed.
Yeah, so she really does all the hard work.
In case you're wondering why I'm wiggling around, I'm getting bitten here. We have no CMs in here today.
Ew.
Yes. They like me a lot.
You know, they like me too, but they like her more. I like her more too. So, really, we both like doing everything when it comes to gardening. We more or less divide things up according to what we like to do most. Irene likes really to do the planning and coming out and counting the seedlings every single day.
But he gets the reports every morning when I come in from the greenhouse.
I just got bitten too.
Yeah.
I can do that as well, but again, there's only two of us on the homestead. We have 43 acres. There's 43 acres of stuff to do. There's 4 buildings of stuff to do. There's roofs to be fixed. There's stucco to be patched. There's always something to do. So it's a matter of what Irene's going to do and what I'm going to do.
Right. So a lot of times if he goes to the store for groceries or something, he comes back to a renovated house. You know, I've done all kinds of things while he was gone. Not that I couldn't do it while he's there, but it's just there's nobody interrupting me except for the critters. So that helps.
And they can interrupt.
Oh gosh, yes.
So I think at the end of it all, we both like doing the whole job. Some of it I like doing more than others, but really what it comes down for me is that the planning and the daily count is something that Irene really enjoys. So I wouldn't want to take that away from her.
Right, and you know, he enjoys eating everything I harvest. There's no question about that. But you know, a lot of times we work together on big projects, like when we have to harvest green beans, for instance. It's a fairly big project because there's a lot of them, because we freeze all the green beans that we use. We're still eating last year's yellow and purple beans from the garden, and he's still eating pickles from the garden. So we're almost out of spaghetti sauce, unfortunately, but oh well. I didn't have quite as good a harvest as I wanted to last year.
Right. Well, those things happen. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a lifetime supply of pickles because it's just me eating the pickles, and I was gone for an awful lot the past 8 years,
right,
traveling on my jobs. So Irene doesn't eat pickles. Well, we're getting some wind in here. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Irene doesn't eat pickles. They're all mine. It's time for me to go start eating some more pickles.
Right. I keep reminding him. He would say, "Oh, I don't want to use them up," and I'm like, "Honey," and I actually counted them, and I think at that point I had like 198 jars of pickles, right, of all different kinds of shapes and sizes and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I guess I can eat them whenever I want." I said, "Yes, you can."
So that's kind of a long, winding discussion about what roles we have in gardening. Again, we can both fill any role. It's all a matter of which one of us likes to do it the most. In the case
right,
of gardening, I'm happy to let Irene take the lead on this. There's other things that I take the lead on.
Right. Well, we learned a long time ago that we have very different work styles, and because of that, somebody always takes the lead. For instance, if we're building something, somebody's in charge. And we will have talked about it ahead of time, but somebody provides the actual instructions at the moment. You know, what do you need to have done next? Because it's not worth arguing about, and it just works better for us, you know. And there's times when I'm doing a project and Henry will say, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And I'll tell him, you know, because it's my project. But if he's building, when he built the benches for the greenhouse, that was his project. I had no idea what the plans were. We just talked about the general dimensions and where we were going to plant them, you know, put them and how high we wanted them. But it wasn't my job to come up with the plan. So because it was his job to come up with the plan, he was the lead.
And it works out all right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next month we'll have been married 45 years. And in 45 years, well, plus the few years before we got married, you learn a few things about each other. And there's some things that's just not worth arguing about. Some things that are worth arguing about, but gardening isn't one of them.
No, definitely not. You know, save that for something important. I mean, it's not that gardening is not important. It's just that I like to do things. You know, I'm one of those people that if I have a rainy day, I would sit there with a map and you know, graph out the garden patterns as to where I want to put the various seeds and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of not Henry's thing. He would just go, "We'll plant it. It'll be okay." And I'd be going, "No."
Well, you know, the one thing that I did have an impact on this year is that in the past years, we've tended to plant just the number of tomato plants, for example, that we thought we'd need. So we'd plant seeds to start, say, 6 tomato plants. This year...
Oh, I always plant extra. He just doesn't realize I do. But
well, this year when she says extra, in previous years it was maybe a couple of plants more than what we needed to fill out the bed that we set aside for the tomatoes. But this year...
Well, we're doing the straw bale, so that gives us a whole nother set of options, and we may still do another set of straw bales. We've been talking about it. And we also belong to a local gardening club now, so one of the problems in the past has been if I have an extra 10 tomato plants that I really don't have any place for, what am I going to do with them? You know? And now I can call up the garden club and say, "Hey, I got 10 tomato plants, would somebody please take these?" And somebody else will be glad to get them.
Now the other thing that happened too is we had some friends send us some additional seeds this year.
Right, right. So,
And that's really caused us to expand our plans pretty substantially. We're adding straw bale gardening this year. That's a new technique for us. We've expanded our other planting. We have the greenhouse, so we have a lot more places that we can grow things.
right, right. We still have to figure out how we're going to keep some of the stuff alive while we're gone out of town this summer. But other than that, you know.
So that's kind of the long drawn out story about how to weed garden.
Right, right,
And really the story is we garden as a team.
right.
Well, thanks for watching, and we're going to think about who we're going to tag in this video, and we'll put that in the description. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Trying to make me beautiful.
At least not too scary.